thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Henry Grayson, Ph.D., a mind-body psychologist, founder of the Institute of Psychotherapies in New York. He practices in New York City and Westport, Connecticut, and is the author of Use Your Body to Heal Your Mind. Learn how to take control of your healing and live in greater health and happiness. Welcome, Henry.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Now, why don't we do what we're supposed to do to stay healthy? By now we all know. So why wouldn't we want abundant health and do the right thing, diet, exercise, and reduce stress?
Well, it's an amazing thing. I discovered, that virtually all of us have barriers against that. But what's really obvious to us all is how many of us don't do what we know to do to stay healthy and happy. We know we need to meditate to reduce stress. We know we need to eat good nutrients. We know we need to get plenty of sleep. We know we need to keep the right thoughts. But how often we just don't do that. And I think part of the reason for that is if we think about the human condition and how the body is constructed, is that we have a reptilian brain that we've inherited from our ancestors. And it's, according to neuroscientists, tell me that's about 15 to 18 times more active than it needs to be for our stage of evolution. And so that survival brain encodes all the kind of information from all of our past negative experiences, our past traumas, our past neglects, our criticisms, judgments, abandonments that we had as little kids. And it encodes all that, and then we draw conclusions out of that about ourselves, about life. Many of us will conclude, I'm not worthy of having a totally healthy and happy life. I'm not deserving of it. It's not safe for me to have. I don't, many kind of conclusions we can draw. I'm not good enough, or I'm basically a bad person, or I'm not lovable. When we draw those conclusions, we really play it out in our lives. And surveys I've done where people totally all said, I want to have a totally healthy and happy life. But when I did a series of muscle testing with them around that, all over the country actually. And muscle testing, the way I use it is simply have a person extend the arm and I press on it while they resist. I have them make a statement that's obviously true. The arm becomes very strong. If there's a statement they know to be false, the arm becomes very weak no matter how much they're resisting. And so when they would say, I deserve to have a totally healthy and happy life, their arms would go down. And it would say, I don't deserve it, their arms would become strong. Or it's safe, the arms would become weak. And I found that 82% of the people I surveyed around the country had both of those, and the other 18% had just one or the other. Now, in addition to that, we have all the traumas behind it, our negative experiences. And when we have all that at work, it's pushing against. It's like having several oxen hitched to a cart pulling one direction while you have one pulling in the other direction, and of course it's not moving that way.
So is there a relationship between a past trauma and a current illness, and if I don't get to that trauma, I'm going to have that illness?
Well, it's not so much directly related always to a certain illness. It might be. But what we do know is that if a person has a lot of uncleared childhood traumas, the odds are that are not cleared, the odds are much stronger of having a serious illness in early adult life.
Now, are these traumas conscious or are they unconscious? What if trauma happened to a pre-verbal infant?
Well, the thing is that we can use this muscle testing to ascertain if those are there. If we have some that are, in fact, most of our preschool years are not remembered, and those are the formative years of our personality. But I think I have maybe 5 memories during that time in myself. And if what we know is that this research shows that 95% of our behaviors are not conscious. And that's good news in many ways, because many things we just do without thinking about it, which are very good. But on the other hand, the negative ones are there too. So we really need to have a way to access what's there in those very early years, maybe even the first year of life, or even in the uterus, that the traumas we might be carrying can be affecting our health today.
Now, when you say in the uterus, Do you mean maternal depression?
Well, when I mean in the uterus, we pick up everything. We now know they place little cameras in the uterus and can photograph the little fetus. And if mother's feeling anxious, a little baby will kind of contort and cringe. If mother's feeling all happy and delighted or having a loving connection with her husband, the baby is just all peaceful and soothed and laid back and relaxed. And on it goes. So we get the energetic communication, we get the sound communication, and we get the biochemical communication through the umbilical cord of the stress hormones.
You know, Henry, that as a mother, that makes me feel even, everything's blamed on me. You know that. So now there's one more thing to feel guilty about. Oh, my. How did I handle that bad news while I was pregnant? I mean, that's a whole layer.
Well, I'm so glad you raised this, because that's the natural human inclination, because we all have a human ego, and the human ego wants us to blame, and to blame ourselves or somebody else. And so what we really have to get past is total experience of blame, because you as a mother or any other mother, we all did the best we knew how to do at that time.
Nobody gave us any training, or you need a fishing license, you need a driver's license. There's no license to be a parent. So,
right. That's amazing. It's the one thing we probably could use the most training in, and we have any of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very...
How can we blame ourselves?
Well, we don't have to. Our kids do it for us.
And the thing is, the irony of it, we know it's not just nature and nurture, what the environment. We know that the other part of development now is how the child interprets everything. And we don't control that at all.
No, we do not. Now, let me ask you this. How do you handle those unconscious barriers? I mean, if they're not conscious to me, and what if they're kind of complicated and interlocking? How do you clear those barriers so that you can heal or at least have more energy in your life?
Well, as you get some kind of history of a person's background in their childhood and their family, what mom was like, what dad was like, stories that are told about what was going on, you got some pretty good indications about things that were happening that could possibly have influenced me as a little infant or as a small child or as a developing fetus. So that gives us some clues to start with. Then we can use that muscle testing on top of that to say, well, how much disturbance remains with you from that time that's still influencing your life negatively today, or maybe contributing toward these symptoms today?
Well, let's hold that thought, because this is a complex question. We're going to commercial break, and we will return with Dr. Henry Grayson, author of Use Your Body to Heal Your Mind.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Light, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving, and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Dr. Henry Grayson, author of Use Your Body to Heal Your Mind. Henry, before commercial break, we were talking about those complex unconscious barriers, and you were telling us the preliminary steps to clearing that from, I guess, what's inhibiting our healing.
Yes, if we have some idea that there were negative things going on back then, and most families do or can tell you about that, and we can also have things that implied to us because we know what mom or dad would like of the relationship, what was happening in the family once our school years came around. But we can imply from that what must have been going on before, because the same kind of patterns, like if dad was very critical or very demanding, or if mom was very neglectful or whatever, chances are it was happening very young as well as at age 10. So all those things give us a clue. But even if we just suspect that something's back there that's maybe affecting this serious illness I have now, we can do muscle testing around that. And so just have the person extend their arm and say, there were traumas in my first year of life that are really affecting this problem today, this illness today. And ask them to resist while I push. Then there are none at that first year of life that are affecting this illness today. And you resist and push. And if the arm becomes strong on that they were, that's all we need to know. Because we're in this new technological age, we know we don't need a wired connection to communicate anywhere in the world. We use our cell phones to communicate with anybody halfway around the globe. The physicists say there's just one unified field of consciousness in the universe. So we can direct our minds to go to the place that information's encoded, whatever that trauma was, and we can go there for the purpose of releasing it, as we do one of these clearing processes that consist of either bilateral stimulation of the brain or including that along with stimulation of certain acupressure points while we have statements of intention.
Yes, I like those statements of intention. I remember Dr. Sarno wrote about the commonality of back pain, and he felt it was due to a repressed anger. And even if you couldn't figure it out, he would tell you to say, I'm talking to your back, I know what you're trying to do to me. Now, is the body, when I read your book, I thought about the body as a metaphor for, specific stressors and illnesses. Do you agree with that? If in other words, if I have shoulder pain, is there a specific metaphor, or knee pain, or cancer, or psoriasis, let's say?
I think that's one of the themes. I think that's certainly very likely in many times. But I think that there are many other symptoms and may come in other ways as well. Just like John Sarno thought it was primarily anger in the back, and I think it is very frequently there. But I find that that's not the only reason a person might have the back problem. It might be they're feeling overloaded. They might feel burdened down. Or they might need at some level to feel incapacitated so they won't have to do some kind of function or task. And on we could go. So it's not quite as simple, I think, as it was made back then. But it's certainly one of the very relevant aspects. Is that there could be a metaphor expressed in our symptom.
So it's certainly a great point to begin if you get having a headache, or as you said, it was Christmas morning and you were with your 3-year-old son and your back started bothering you, and you told your wife, I have to go to another room, I have to think about this, and say, what's going on with me? What's going on now that I need? And I think that kind of self-reflection can only help in terms of getting to the bottom of what's bothering you. But you need to have some skills to do that, either reading a lot or going to a therapist to guide you, because most of us don't get to the layers, right?
Well, I think that we are so conditioned to think that the power is outside ourselves. We think that illnesses happen to us from outside and that the cures are outside. And this is perpetuated largely by the main part of our medical system that we have. And so we get a little symptom, we want to run to the doctor to get it fixed. Now, there's nothing wrong with having medical care. I'm not opposed to that at all. Better that than to suffer. On the other hand, if we don't really raise the question, well, what's behind this? What's producing this? What would it get for me? What would it get me out of doing? What emotions being expressed in it? Is there some metaphor being expressed, or is there a tribal mind belief system being expressed in it? Now, one thing I've done in this book is to try to give people some tools they can use if they're not used to doing this kind of reflection. There's a self-awareness questionnaire people can go through, helps bring things to the surface. There's a checklist for possible traumas or painful experiences. There's a checklist for negative beliefs a person might be carrying. Now, all of those are ways to bring some things into the surface to say, okay, this could be a contributor here. Let me do one of these processes to start getting these things cleared out. Then we do that, we free up energy for health and healing.
Let me ask you this. Let's say somebody has Alzheimer's. How do you deal with that? Can you heal yourself?
Well, of course, in Alzheimer's, it depends on how much cognitive function a person can still have there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they can't focus, that's one thing. Like if a person had an accident and the brain is so damaged they can't think, it'd be hard for them to use conscious intention in any way. So we're assuming that there's still some function available for us to do reflection. And if we do that, I think that we often think that so many illnesses are incurable, but I have found in my experience that many that were thought to be incurable, I've seen people heal.
So let me ask you this. What would be, let's say, an unconscious barrier to getting Alzheimer's? What would, in your opinion, of course, I'm sure you've treated patients maybe with mild cognitive impairment or,
But not with severe Alzheimer's.
No, we're not talking severe. Well, Alzheimer's happens over a long period of time.
Well, one thing, for example, if a person has some cognitive malfunction, the odds are that there are, as a collective, probably a lot of painful experiences they've had. I think of this being like you're hiking up the hill of life with a backpack, and every time you have a painful experience that's not cleared, you put a chunk of lead in that backpack.
Well, let's hold that thought because we're going to go to a commercial break, and we will return with Dr. Henry Grayson. Use your body to heal your mind. Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is a message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers. So, Henry, before commercial break, we were discussing mild cognitive impairment or the early stages of Alzheimer's. So, if I understand you correctly, would you be saying that someone with overwhelmingly painful memories, maybe in the unconscious,
Cumulative number of them.
Okay, would be and maybe this person's trying to forget them, and so there goes the metaphor?
That's one possibility, and even just the act of carrying all those traumas, the survival brain, the limbic system, pours out stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, and normally they're helpful to us. If I start to walk out in the street here in Manhattan and I almost step in front of a bus, I instantly feel a fear and I jump back on the curb, and the adrenaline's helpful. But
maybe the bus might jump the curb.
but what if I keep having that stress, those stress hormones keep flowing and keep flowing and keep flowing and keep flowing? That's where the problem comes of the damage to the brain. And if we keep having those stress hormones keep flowing repetitively, like just this morning, I was with someone, and she cleared a trauma, and she felt almost like going to sleep afterward. She said, "What makes me so sleepy about this?" What I tried to explain to her was that as she cleared that trauma, her body could relax and finally get the rest that it's been needing.
What if someone leads a stressful life, like a caregiver, where the stress becomes chronic? And you know, studies have been done by Dr. Christakis about how those people have a propensity to these kind of devastating illnesses. So it's really not the unconscious, it's just conscious living.
Well, I think that there are two things about it we can look at there. One is, what tools could a person use to reduce that stress while going through it? I mean, if they can't get out of being the caregiver, and they've got somebody they've got to take care of for 2, 3, 4, 5 years as they're deteriorating, that is an overwhelming thing. But what if they took some of these tools, like I describe in the book, and they stimulate some acupressure points, maybe 5 or 6 times a day after a disturbing experience, and use that to clear it out? What if they would go and meditate for 15 minutes and use that to quiet their minds as they go through it? What if they would use some kind of a spiritual practice, like in their minds of seeing the person differently, and to see that I'm stronger as I hold on to thoughts of love and compassion. Whereas if I hold on thoughts of how burdened I am, all I'm doing is making myself sick as I focus on that side of it.
Yes,
so
to get rid of that negativity bias and reframe everything.
Exactly.
But you know what I do to get stress hormones out? I move it out of the body first. Before I can reframe, I think I have to just get the hormones out. And I know they lodge longest in the hippocampus. So it's really to have, for me, movement that matters, an intention for movement. This is what I want to accomplish. And then to rewrite the story.
Yes, because there can be different ways of releasing that. You know, some people say just physical activity helps them. I think these other energetic methods that I describe in the book of touching acupressure points, that helps release it from the body. Animals know how to do it when they're been victimized by bigger animals. When they come to, they stand up and just shake their bodies like crazy for a couple of minutes. All of that helps a person release that encoding of information in the body from the stress.
It's as you wrote about in the book, you know, you can come up with your rituals for healing, and you mentioned the placebo effect. So whether, you know, some of this is true, it's not true, it's what we believe. That's true.
A powerful piece.
Yeah. The placebo effect, we've seen that in surgeries and in pretend surgeries, and I think many doctors still use it.
Yes.
And don't tell you.
Well, the doctor just told me the other day, he says, when people call me and want some advice, he says, I have them come into the office even though I'm overwhelmed with appointments already. Because he says, if I know they come in and they see me in my white coat and they're in the office here, and I tell them what to do then, it's going to be much more powerful if I just tell it to them over the phone.
You know what I enjoyed in the book? You sharing personal narratives about how you healed from a burn when you opened the hood of the car. I think that was very inspiring. Would you share that?
Well, I got a radiator hose exploding in my face that gave me a massive second-degree burn on the whole side of my head. And while I was in the hospital waiting to be seen, I had to wait a while because there were people with more serious injuries being seen first, or serious illnesses.
That wasn't serious enough.
It wasn't serious enough to be seen earlier. It was a severe pain, but my life wasn't threatened. And so anyway, I was in severe pain. Then I thought about that and what do I do? You know, and then I remembered a story a patient had told me the week before about a friend of hers who had wanted to get rid of an appendectomy scar, so she'd wear.
Well, I'm getting the signal. I think people are going to have to read the book and learn how you breathed into it and how remarkably you healed, and that you didn't scar. And I was very excited to read the details of it. Do you have a website?
Yes, it's just my name, Henry Grayson, spelled with an A, Grayson, HenryGrayson.com.
I love the way you said just my name. You are truly terrific. True humility, because that really houses brilliance. Well, thank you for being a wonderful guest.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Affirmation of the week. Are you making the assumption that your romantic partner is clairvoyant? And now for the latest medical trends. Researchers from the University of the Alabama School of Public Health say it does not appear that limiting sizes of soft drinks will have a significant effect on reducing weight at a population level. Many first-time parents, particularly mothers, actually increase the amount of time they spend on Facebook after the birth of their child, according to Ohio State University. They probably post a lot of pictures. And people with insomnia might have trouble sleeping after I tell you this, that they are more prone to developing hypertension. And Georgia Institute of Technology claims that 15% of work emails is gossip related. Well, I'm not surprised. Exercise helps to alleviate pain related to nerve damage by reducing levels of certain inflammation-promoting factors. This is according to a new study in anesthesia and analgesia. American teens are less likely than European teens to use cigarettes and alcohol, but sorry, they're more likely to use illicit drugs. And the herb ginseng, taken over 2 months, really helps to reduce cancer-related fatigue in patients more effectively than a placebo, according to a Mayo Clinic-led study. And all our businesses want engaged and loyal employees, but that can quickly turn if they feel taken advantage of. Well, we come to the close of another show. I have an educational website, turnonyourinnerlight.com, totally free. All the radio shows with the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure. Just click on the site on the radio page and it'll take you right into YouTube and you can hear the show of your choice. Subscribe to my free newsletter from turnonyourinnerlight.com and you will get the latest radio show, fresh new article on stress management, and all the health tips fully delineated, emailed directly to you from turnonyourinnerlight.com. Have a wonderful week and see you on the radio.